All right, this is great. You're listening to the Lemon Drop Sessions, a podcast about food and music. I'm your host, Will Pryor Bennett. I'm here with Kenyon Moore, officially the UFC professional fighter. Am I right?
I'm not UFC level yet, but I turned pro late last year, and I'm getting ready for my second pro fight as we speak.
Heck yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I wasn't sure how to mention that in like a clear and concise way. But yeah, you've got like an amateur fighting record, and now you've got your pro fighting record, and there's all sorts of different categories, I guess, that you fight in under Teixeira MMA and fitness.
Yep. Yeah. So there's different levels of pro fighting. You could fight low level pro on the regional scene, and then you work your way up to like a bigger promotion that's like national, and then the next step from there is like international promotions like the UFC or PFL or One Championship, something like that.
Wow, man. Like I was actually kind of I was blown away really like leading up to I saw one of your just promo cards, right? Some upcoming fight on Facebook, and and then it looked like you got the big you have a big fight coming up at Mohegan Sun like April 20th, right?
Yeah, so that'll be the biggest venue I fought in so far. Reality
Right.
Fighting is the promotion that puts the show on, and they're supposed to put on a pretty good event. So I'm excited to compete there.
Yeah, I mean Mohegan Sun is really I mean, they're running some really crazy shows now. Like I mean, like there's regular fights, there's regular comedians who are like big time. So yeah, it
Yep.
does seems like a pretty big fight coming up. And but also like and really I had to do a bit of research because it's not every day I talk to a UFC fighter or a MMA fighter or whatever, like I think I've only had like two fighters on the show so far. But yeah, I was really surprised by how much is going on specifically in Connecticut and then also in other parts of New England. Like you go and you do some of these fights in Massachusetts or even Vermont, you know. Uh it seems obvious like now that I've heard about it, but it's like I had no idea there was fighting in Vermont, and
Mhm.
but I found out recently how much fighting there seems to be in Connecticut. I had no idea there was such a culture here.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's incredible. I was really grateful to be able to find a gym here with the talent that is available in this area. It's a blessing for sure.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I was also surprised to find that sometimes there's like fewer fights, like not much time between fights, like less than I would expect. Like I've seen like because I like looked through your Instagram real quick and like one time you had like a fight in February and then another one in March.
Yep.
Uh, that's pretty wild, man. Like that seems like a quick turnaround, like as much as like 3 weeks for a new fight. You know, I thought,
Yeah, so that's yeah, it's really dependent on like if you're healthy after the fight and what kind of performance you have and the trajectory you want your career to go in. Some people fight like every 2 or 3 months, and some people take a year off in between fights. It's just kind of dependent on the circumstances.
right, yeah, yeah, definitely. That's pretty wild, man. So do you have any fights between now and April 20th, or is it all about April 20th right now?
It's all about April 20th right now. I'm trying to be like selective about the fights I take. I am trying to be really active this year, but for right now, that's the main focus. It's about 6 weeks away, roughly.
Yeah,
So I won't take anything in between now and then. A lot of the times, the contracts you sign as a professional require you not to take any sort of fights in between then and the contract you currently signed for.
oh wow, cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, that makes sense though, of course. So you've really got time to focus on this one specific fight. Um, Basically, so we talked about this, but I'm sure part of your training is secret, right? Like, you have to have like a trick up your sleeve or something like that, right? I would imagine.
I mean, you definitely don't want to be like showing your opposition the things that you are good at or are going to lean towards in the fight. So, like social media posts about what I'm working on, are like definitely go down as fights approach, so that if they're trying to do their research, they don't have as much information um, as possible. The fight
Right,
team training that I do is not open to the public, so people can't just come in and record video and stuff like that. So there
right,
is like some privacy to it, um, just to make sure that you're not like setting yourself up for failure.
right. So, before we go any further, I was actually, when this podcast started, I was really bad about including the food section of this food and music thing that I'm trying to do, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, I think in some ways I really missed out, and especially like definitely with you, I should definitely be, getting some of your opinions on food because I'm sure it's all about protein and, hitting a certain ratio. And also I saw you have like food sponsors now, like, like healthy snack companies and stuff want to set up with you and you kind of do these unboxing videos.
Yeah,
Uh,
so that was something new. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I don't know if I thought
no,
you were
no,
done.
I totally, yeah, take it away.
That was fun. There's so much that goes into like staying prepared and getting ready for the fights that like nutrition is a huge part of it. And
Hmm.
so making sure you hit those macro numbers, your fat, your protein, and your carbohydrate intake is important. And I was being kind of lazy about it. My weight wasn't where it's supposed to be. So I was fortunate enough to get like a sponsorship for the some meal prep, which was what you saw in those unboxing videos that I thought I
Right,
was thought it would be fun to do, and share my experience with the people who follow me on social media. Um, and it was good. It was all right. I didn't end up sticking with them because I found a better option for me. Um,
right.
but yeah, so like outside of my training, sleep and eating is like the two biggest things to make sure I can stay active, stay strong, and have good sessions of training.
Right. So, um, I mean, have you just completely accepted it? Is it ever, difficult to have one more clean meal, or you must have to really put that put that straight in your mind, like I think that's probably something you don't want to mess with that much. So like how do you work with dessert or even like a cheat day or anything like that? How do you manage that?
Um, So like fortunately for me, I started out before martial arts, like really pursuing like bodybuilding and powerlifting. So I had done a lot of research on my own and like practice into meal prepping and making sure that I was like consuming the right amount of food and the right kinds of food. So I
Mm,
had kind of a background in knowing what was appropriate for me and what wasn't. Um, because the training is so intense on camp, getting ready for a fight and off camp. For me, a lot of the time it's just making sure I eat enough food. So fortunately, I don't really have cheat days. Like my
right,
when I'm
right,
not in camp, I'm eating like ice cream and bacon cheeseburgers and just trying to get the calories in to stay strong and have the energy to train like twice a day, and maintain muscle mass and explosiveness. As
right,
the fight gets closer, the I gotta depending on where I'm at weight wise and the training regimen I'm doing, I start cutting out carbs to lower my body weight, and timing my meals around training. So it's actually easier for me as I get closer to a fight because that means I don't have to do as much prep. I don't have to cook and clean as much because I'm consuming fewer calories. And then I'm
huh,
just like cutting out refined sugars and then as I get even closer, like starchy carbs.
right, yeah. So like well, real quick, what do you consider starchy carbs? Like
So like
sugars?
generally I cut out the refined sugars and then next thing I cut out is bread.
Uh-huh.
Just because it's like so it's just like the easiest thing for me because it's probably the most like refined carbohydrate I eat outside of refined sugars.
Right.
So I'm eating more sweet potato, rice, and pasta instead of bread, and that just equates to me eating less carbs in general.
Right, right. But at like you said, there's a period of time where it's just okay for you to have cheeseburgers, I guess. Like
For sure.
it's just part of the mix. That's
Yeah.
like it's almost reassuring in some ways, because like
Yeah. Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear it, man. Like, 'cause like, you know, because like I've never really like I've never done like a year straight of training in any discipline, but I have trained in the past, and it's like really like you would kind of notice it's just like, huh, like I had a cheeseburger, it's supposed to be wrong, but it worked. Like my day was better for it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I totally agree. And sometimes it's more about just like treating yourself to something you enjoy more than like the how it contributes to your training, like the
right,
psychological effect of enjoying something, even if it's a cheeseburger, which really like the breakdown of it isn't that negative unless you're trying to like maintain
right.
a certain physique.
Yeah, I love that, man. Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's awesome. Yeah. That's solid. Sweet potato and rice, those sound solid too. Have you started that, you said, or you still have a little time?
I still have a little time. Right now, I'm at a good weight for where I'm at. About like 4 weeks out from the fight, depending on how much I weigh then, which still shouldn't be that bad. I've had this is like my eighth fight, so I've had a lot of practice, like doing the fight prep as far as nutrition goes.
Right.
I'm gonna get to a weight that I can maintain throughout camp, and then it's really like the last 10 days of camp, I'll start really being strict about what I consume because I want to maintain a good heavy weight throughout my camp so I can train well. If I start getting down too low, I'm more prone to injury and I don't perform as well during my training sessions.
Right, right. So you cut weight closer to the match, basically.
Correct. Yeah.
That's interesting. So cool, cool, cool. What's the weight class you're fighting in, I guess?
So I fight at 170 pounds, which is the welterweight division.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. All right. Yeah, thanks for filling me in on that. I didn't have the categories
Yeah.
exactly right. I know a bit about wrestling, and the weight categories are really specific. It's like by differences of 5 pounds sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, that's wild, man. Really cool. Welterweight, awesome. Um, so all right, Mohegan Sun, man. Have you ever been there just for fun? Like, like done like any reason to go there beforehand?
So some of my teammates have fought there in the past, and I would go and watch the shows that they'd compete in. But other than that, that's really the only reason I've ever ventured out that far. Um,
Right,
yeah, I'm not much
right.
of a gambler, so I don't go sit at the
No,
slots.
no, yeah. I mean, yeah, you're better off that way. I'm really not much of a gambler either. I tried to get a DraftKings and I just did like $5 here and there on like football stuff.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, no, and especially in terms of going out to Mohegan Sun, I think that's actually a pretty that like kind of doing research for this interview. It is interesting that you know these fighters are basically spending the night in these like casinos, and like actually I watched some fight movie, and they show the main character just like there's a bleed for this. I don't know if you've seen it, but they showed this main character fighter just kind of like goofing around in the casino when he should be asleep.
Yeah, that'd be pretty wild, but some people have different opinions on what they should be doing to get ready, I guess.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's a real thing because, you just have this window of time where, you have to just sort of be awake, but you're trying to conserve your energy and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Once you weigh in, like the priority is like rehydrating and getting back up into a good weight to fight at. But there is just a lot of waiting around. And I feel like you could probably drive yourself crazy not occupying your mind with stuff, or at least like being able to control like the nerves during that period because it's this you don't have anything to do, but you
Right.
know that like the fight is coming. So you got like you have to compete with your mind in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think like definitely growing up playing sports, not that, like like some seasons were better than other and stuff, and I was like never going for like a career in any sport. Um, but I would really notice it's just like, man, this bus ride, to this venue where we're gonna fight, it's like an hour and a half, you just like, you just sit on this bus and like you're like trying not to play like video games or whatever, like You're just trying to kind of be, you know, up for it,
Yeah,
you know.
for sure.
Um, yeah, I hear that, man. Very cool. This is a pretty exciting thing, and so I want to include a little music here, right? You must have music to train with. You must, right? And
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and then also you have to pick a song when you come out there, like to announce yourself. Like, how much time do you spend on something like that?
Like picking the song that I walk out to.
Yeah, yeah,
So I've been kind of lazy about it, I guess. I'm not like what is it they call it, superstitious at all, but I picked
right,
the song that I walked to out in my first fight, and that's been the same song I've walked out to every time. And I think it'll probably be the same song I walk out to for the rest of my career.
cool,
Uh, and I've thought about changing it because like us, I'll be listening to a certain genre of music or songs like leading up to every fight is different because new songs come out. I get exposed to different artists.
right,
But I've always just kind of stuck with the same one, so I don't put much thought into
right.
it. It's just the one I go with, and it puts me in the zone.
What's this song that you stick with that you for every fight?
That's Cinderella Man by Eminem.
Oh, that's awesome,
Yeah,
man. Yeah,
yeah.
I watched like because I was trying to catch it, but I guess I haven't heard of Cinder. I mean I know the Cinderella Man song, of course. I guess I haven't heard it in a minute, or it was a part of the song that I'm not as familiar with. But that's wild, man. Yeah, honestly, like in terms of Eminem, I just listen to Godzilla. That song he did Godzilla over and over again. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't even I'm not even looking for other Eminem. I'm like it's Godzilla time, or I listen to
That's,
the instrumental to Godzilla, and then that's where it's at. But
that's awesome.
yeah, that song is really something else, of course. But um, yeah, man. And so have you ever had an occasion where like in the music world and stuff, it's cool to find a vinyl at like a yard sale or something like that, or your friend invites you to a show and you barely make it and you learn about this new cool band. Do you have any memories like that? Kind of learning about music?
Um, going to shows. I'd have to think about that for a while.
Yeah.
Mm, I don't know. I like
That's
I never listened to opera very much, but then like out of nowhere, my mom on holidays started playing this guy, I think his name's Pavarotti.
oh wow.
And I never heard it before, and she like I was just on like Pandora playing the music that we normally listen to on holidays, and she asked me to put it on. And the whole time actually as I grew up, she had like a magnet for our refrigerator that had like his name on it and a few pictures of him, like drawings of him. And I was listening for a little while, and it ended up being something that I would train to sometimes.
Right.
After the fact, I got shadow box to it when I'm on my own or something like that, and that was a cool experience because it was something that she liked, and I ended up liking it too. And it's very much not like the music I would generally listen to, I guess. So that was a good experience being exposed to something new.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's wild. I could definitely see that working as a shadow box song
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. I
I
get
do.
like,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, sorry. Go on. Go on. Go
I get yelled at all the time by the guys on the fight team because the music I play during
on.
well, that I try and play during training. Like I'll put on like Louis Armstrong or Chet Baker.
Right.
Yeah, like
Right.
classical jazz, and they're not. I love it, but they don't. They're not big fans.
That is so funny. Wow. All right, man. That's good to know. Yeah, you've got like a jazz thing going on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Chet Baker, huh? I could see how that could work, how that could keep your mind just fresh. But
yeah.
what's gonna happen next, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Louis Armstrong, also a good choice. I definitely see that, how you've got something maybe slower playing and then you're faster in
Yep.
training, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really neat, man. That's a good choice, and that's an interesting idea as well. Right on, man. Um, so how do you even sort of like structure, do you have time off? Or I actually watched one of your videos, and there's like this intro stuff and like some voiceover of you, and they had this sample of your voice where you were saying, the last 5 6 years my focus has been martial arts, and which is really wild, man. Like, what a way to live. Absolutely. um and like you said, you don't really have cheat days, and like, because it's so body centric, you don't really have days off in that sense, right? It's more of a lifestyle, right?
Yeah,
uh
correct.
so how do you even think in terms of time off? Or, I mean, you're not necessarily looking for a vacation, obviously it took a lot of determination to do this and be here, right? But like, how do you think about at least like shaking up the snow globe and just presenting yourself with something different?
Um, So I wouldn't really say shaking up the snow globe and presenting myself as something different, but it's definitely like because it is so strenuous and intense, especially because I started late in my life. I don't have a background from high school or anything like that. I don't feel like I can afford to take time off, or
Right.
like long lengths of time off. After every fight, as long as we're healthy, we don't train for a solid week, like absolutely nothing. Where they're just sitting
Mhm.
there letting our body recover from the weight cut and the competition.
Right.
And then throughout our training, like we have planned rest, right? So like right now the structure is like I don't do anything on Wednesdays or Sundays, but I'm
Right.
running like 2 a day training every other day almost.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
and we have
Interesting.
to prioritize that rest just as much as we prioritize the training, like where that it has to be like
Right.
actual rest. It can't be like, oh, I go and get errands done or I work on this project or I occupy my mind doing this. It's almost like
Oh, wow.
the rest has to be just as vigorous in a sense as the training days do so that you can stay in the game.
Wow, man. Yeah. Wow. So is it like you're not even supposed to move? Or like,
No, but it's like eliminating stressors, right?
yeah.
So you just
Right.
try and do like the bare minimum while getting what you need to get done in. Like you're still doing laundry. Like I take my rest days to do my meal prep. Um,
Right.
wash my bed sheets, like organize my life a little bit.
Right.
But like just trying to prioritize not like letting other things outside of training get in the way of my rest and that sort of thing.
Yeah, right. They've got to be chill.
Yeah, yeah, super chill.
Definitely get that, man. That's great. Yeah, that's the way to do it, I think, especially in this day and age.
Yeah, and with like how prevalent injuries are and like overtraining or not really overtraining but under resting is just like it's a concoction for injury. So you gotta, and if you're injured, you're not on the mats, and if you're not on the mats, you're not getting ready for a fight, and if you're not ready for a fight, then you're not taking a fight. So
Yeah, I think even if you're not, I mean, definitely in my case, like, you know, like I'm not training hard for anything in particular, but like still I have to be aware of my rest in a way that just feels crazy sometimes, it's just like I think I'm good actually, it's like I can't rest forever and die, it's like
yeah, that's an interesting point because it's like it's like even if you feel good, sometimes you have to rest just so you're prepped for the next day. But you can fight those demons of feeling like maybe lazy or not getting as much done as you want to. But it's like you got to play the long game, instead of like trying to get too much done too soon.
Yeah, exactly. And like, yeah, some days really are better than others, it seems. Like, honestly, in researching for this, like, it kind of just because I write, right? And this is a whole different subject, fight and fight culture and everything like that. And I really got to learn a bit about it, and like some of the people who would be on your team, like I didn't know much about like the cut men, like the people who actually like stitched people up between fights, And
Yep.
then just kind of thinking about this, I was like, what even started looking it up, like what even is that? And just that whole notion of having this team all centered on, this one fight, this one idea, basically. Um, just really wild. I'm actually not sure where I was going with that, but like I just or yeah, like one day it was just the most natural thing in the world, even though I hadn't been, to just like research UFC for like a few hours. And
Hmm.
like then like there's other times where it's just like, oh man, like I can't move, like I need rest or whatever. Like I just can't do this thing right now, even though at another point I would genuinely want to do that, right? Yeah. So how
Mm.
early how early do you start with your training? Is it like early morning?
No, right now the team structure is like we train at like 11 o'clock every day, and then again at night around 8 or 9.
Very cool. I like that a lot. That sounds good. And then I've honestly met a couple other people from the Teixeira MMA and fitness. It seems to be a big thing. It's happening in Connecticut. Just what's that like? How is that in terms of community? Do you see a lot of people just coming through there?
Yeah, yeah, and that's one of the biggest things about the gym here that I enjoy is the community that it presents.
Hmm.
Like once you, at least my experience has been is like once I got out of high school and I didn't go to college really, is like
Right.
finding a community of people is really kind of difficult. And making new friends as an adult is really kind of difficult for me at least, because there's so few venues to do that in unless like you go to the bars or you go back to school or it's at your
Exactly. Yeah.
occupation. So like uh one thing about martial arts gyms is like anybody that comes in with an ego it's going to humble, and anybody that comes in like
Right.
timid it's going to empower. So like you just
Right.
see a lot of growth from everybody that steps in these places, and through that growth you build bonds with them that like last a lifetime and are really strong. So it's uh it's been really incredible the people that I've been able to meet and build relationships with in the gym that come through and just train for a little while or have started and haven't left. So it's
Wow.
been I've been really grateful for it.
That's great, man. That's perfect. All right. So honestly, there's plenty more that we could talk about, but actually I want to have an excuse to bring you back another time, man, because I'm sure there's more that we could do, more things that we could break down. This whole notion of like the music that you use during training, that's really wild, man. That's a cool way to get through this planet Earth.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Right on, man. Right on. Love it.